just a little difference in like that's a line between the like 5 years of difference between me and Kyle's age. Is you missed SpongeBob?
No. I've told the story before, but that was my 10th grade prom. I woke up and that was the first time I ever. So when was I in 10th grade? That was like 2002. So how old were you in 2002? Was that when you were into SpongeBob too?
I was 11. Yeah.
Were you into? Is that like prime?
I like SpongeBob. A little younger than that, up to like then. Yeah.
So I was being exposed to it then, but my first exposure to it was this: waking up so fucking sick and from over drinking as a 16-year-old at a place I didn't want to be in with no ride home, and some dudes that I don't even like are watching SpongeBob sitting there, and they're like offering me a beer, and I'm just like, God, I'm sick. I'm gross because I've been vomiting all night. I have this heartburn because I was drinking Mike's Hard Lemonade and vodka. I'm 16. I don't know and throwing up, and I don't have a way home, and I'm still wearing like half my prom clothes, which are like uncomfortable and like sticky-ish now, like from I've been sweating all night. I haven't had a fucking shower. I slept on a floor and there's SpongeBob playing, and hello guys, I'm SpongeBob Faggot Pants. Oh, I live under the sea, and I'm just like, somehow that show fused into the feeling right here of nausea, sadness. It also had gone terribly with my date. She had gotten mad at me because I made a joke about drunk driving. Her uncle had been killed by a drunk driver like 5 years before, had no idea. My joke wasn't even mean. It was just like, yeah, man, he's a grown man. Have a beer. I don't care. He's driving. Like, the limo driver wanted a beer.
Yeah, just a little banter. You're trying to be funny. Yeah.
Our grown-ass limo driver wanted one of the beers that he had picked up for us. And I'm like, it's a grown-ass man. It's a limo, okay? We're not like zipping in our traffic here. We're going through country. Yeah, give him a fucking beer. He just got us all beer. And she's just, and like, so I'm not getting any. I'm not even kissing. That nothing. She's gone as soon as we get back to the party house. You know what I mean? So SpongeBob is forever like fused with that feeling, the feeling of like fucking up. Hungover. I thought losing the date, not getting laid, not even kissed, not even grabbing a titty, like nothing. Also nausea, incredible heartburn. All of the worst feelings are fused to SpongeBob SquarePants, fucking anodized into it by a goddamn mountain troll, and he never forgave and he never forgot. All
Dude,
right?
like now that you're putting it like that, I'm thinking about what SpongeBob is, and like SpongeBob's laugh, that like nah, like must have been so fucking grating, like waking up just resonating in your ears. Man, well, I'm sorry you couldn't enjoy SpongeBob because of, your date not liking your joke and then abandoning you, not even giving you any titty grab action.
Really
inappropriate. You were just trying to help out the guy who bought you beer. The beer that would cost you a shitty morning the next morning.
I stand by that, by the way. Like I was a grown ass man. Like he was 30s, 40s or something like that. He had just explained. Oh, I know what it was. He told us a joke about doing a line of cocaine as long as his arm, and then driving Britney Spears from Atlanta to Miami. That's cool. What it was.
Was this a joke or something he said he did?
Something he said he did. He was telling us like the coolest stuff that had ever happened to that limo, and he was talking about like sex parties, and he said he saw Britney Spears, and he said something about her ass being fake and as well as her tits or something. Like he had like all these like dirty things to tell us. But one of them was about how he like did this huge line of cocaine and went from Atlanta to Miami in like one stretch with some celebrity or something. And like she hated that story, I think. Whatever. Anyway, I don't like SpongeBob to this day. I've never given it a chance. I'm sure it's great. Y'all all love it so much. You don't need me to like it for you to like it though, do you?
No,
not you.
Not. It's the opposite for me. Like, I just remember it as a silly, goofy, carefree, no stakes show that actually had some good jokes, like had some funny, like jokes about implication, about like, SpongeBob being gay with Patrick, or like just like some like adult jokes thrown in, which you didn't fully understand at the time, which I've been
following the King of Hill reboot over on Hulu, and I saw two pitches. Initially, the pitch was to age them forward about 15 years or so.
Ooh.
And so Bobby would be kind of like, he'd have a kid or like be struggling with that or something. And Hank and Peggy would be, like boomers, essentially. They'd be getting on into their 50s and 60s or so. But I think that didn't go over well, and that, like they may have reversed course to just abide by the current timeline, or maybe skip forward just a little bit. But some people are like, oh, but that takes the wind out of the final episode where Hank and Bobby find that kinship with grilling meat or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. We're rebooting the shit. We're doing it again. We're coming back. Like stop pretending like we're not. All right, I know y'all aren't going to allow that white man to do the Korean voice anymore. Like, we're going to give you that one. Just give me the show.
They better let
back.
Khan be the same voice.
No, of course they're not.
I'm not going to like that. I'm not going to like that one bit. They're
not going to fire him. He also does the voice of like either Jimbo or Mr. Strickland.
Mr. Strickland? Yeah, I mean, I would be pissed if they changed the voices. I like those voices.
We'll see if they sound the same. South Park's new season just began over on HBO. I watched episode 1. Thought it was pretty good, but the voices are different, noticeably different. I think maybe I'm like particularly good at like catching that, but I noticed for sure Cartman's voice is very different. And Kyle and Stan have more differentiation. That's the right word. These days, they used to be almost indistinguishable at times. And now there's this big difference between the two. And Cartman's lost a little bit of that. Like a little bit of that was gone. And it was just more like and it was more like straightforward, like kind of just a break off of what Stan sounds like, but with a little bit of and like just not as much. I don't know. There was a difference in the sound of the whole show. It sometimes I get scared with animation like that. Like, how far are they away from just using one of those AIs and just completely phoning it in for the rest of their lives? Somebody
Dude, I'd watch a show made by that Unleashed AI. I'd want to see what it came up with.
One of the guys in the $50 patron Discord sent me a thing earlier today or yesterday, and it was him telling me that like he had followed my advice and he'd lost a tremendous amount of weight and gotten in shape, and he was going through, but the way he did it was he used an AI program that sounds identical to me to tell all of that to me with audio. So I told myself all of the wonderful things that have happened to him, and I'm listening to it so befuddled. So befuddled because I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I sound like. That's
really
me.
The more of your voice that's out there, so like all three of us, you could come up with great ones for people. Like anyone on radio or podcasting, you can do a pretty good one, I imagine.
It's tremendous. But good on him. Like I was almost distracted by his stats. I mean, he'd lost a tremendous amount of weight, like, dozens and dozens of pounds or something. But I was distracted because it was me telling me through that goddamn, 11 or something like that. I think that might be the one. That's the same. I think that's the same thing that Mitty's been using to do his David Attenborough voices.
David Attenborough.
Yeah.
96 years young. That guy.
I wanted to talk about the fucking the UFOs, the balloons that we've been shooting down, because it's super embarrassing. And they even asked at the press conference. I love that someone asked the question. And this is like 3 days ago. They asked that black lady who does the press conferences now. We're gonna be embarrassed if it turns out that. Yeah. We're gonna be embarrassed if it turns out that we've been shooting Sidewinder missiles and chasing with F-22s with tankers in the air for dozens of hours, and what we were shooting down was civilian weather balloons and maybe even decorations. I say we're all proud of the military and everything they do, and he's just like pivoting and like won't even like deal with the question. And then it turns out, yeah, that's what we've been doing. Like what happened was, in case you weren't following along, is like we had that one Chinese balloon that flew over and it was scary. So they were like, how did we not see it sooner? And so they changed the radar to pick up objects moving slower than 80 knots or whatever. They turned that down, the speed detection part, and suddenly the radar grid lights up, and they're like, send the jets, send the F-22s, send the F-16s. We've got to shoot Sidewinder missiles at all of these. And every time
have we really been doing that?
Yeah,
that's really embarrassing.
That's what the last week's been. And the fun part was when they shot at the one over maybe the Great Lakes or Alaska, I don't remember which, but they missed with the first Sidewinder missile. Those are
it's at a balloon.
Those are to be fair, they're not meant to hit balloons, but
it better be able to hit a balloon, man. Like
it's like they're $400,000 a piece or something like that, and everybody gets stuck on that number. They're like, we wasted a $400,000 missile. Do you know what it costs to fly an F-22 per hour? I think it's like $80,000 an hour if it's flying.
I do think that
argument.
I like that point. It's like, yeah, so they wasted $400K. Do you have any idea the countless tens of billions they waste every few months? And it's like, yeah, because of things like this contribute to that. Like just doing whatever you want all the time because there's infinite money for it. Like
super embarrassing.
Something I don't understand is like China has. Maybe you guys can tell me.
Okay.
Like China has satellites, which are better than balloons at seeing things on the ground.
So they weren't trying to see on the ground.
Yeah, you can zoom in with satellite. Like they have satellites. Like
yeah,
we do.
True.
Like you can zoom in. You can see stuff way better than like a fucking balloon up there. Like it just. Why would they do a balloon?
So they're not trying to see things. The satellites are plenty good at seeing everything. They're trying to pick up communications. They're trying to pick up communications as they fly over and all of North America. And we're not talking about your TV or your like short band radio. They're trying to pick up military communications. They flew right across where the ICBMs are. They flew across the Missouri base where the B2s are at. They were scanning and picking up military signals, and also obviously getting.
Aren't those satellite done? Like our military communicates with satellites, right?
And no, well, there's radio signaling on the ground going back and forth. That's how we like do all of that's how we communicate.
It's just such a weird situation because it's like they were trying to get this information, and it was so important that we allowed them to go across the entire continent long ways, unimpeded.
The fun part was all right. So there's an island where they launched these. There's an island where they launched these balloons from, and so we watched them launch the balloon. We were aware of its launch as soon as it. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. It's Xinjiang Island.
You call Barun Island.
But they watched them. I watched the CNN reporting on this. That dolt of a woman they've got on there. She was like, so well, yeah, we watched them launch the balloon. We understand, but like, what's the worst that could happen? He's like, well, could we guarantee? Can Congress guarantee? Can the Joint Staffs agree that we knew for sure there wasn't a nuclear weapon on that balloon? He's like, well, that would be quite a feat launching a nuclear weapon from a balloon. And it's like, you dumb bitch. He goes, well, you just drop it. I'm glad he said that, but I wish he'd expounded upon that and said, like, actually, that's the easiest way to deliver a nuclear weapon. They just proved that they can deliver a nuclear weapon to the entire continental United States and detonate it above our cities. They just did it. All they have to do is strap one in there. There's no way.
They proved they can go 4 miles an hour across all of Canada and the U.S. and we apparently miss missiles, or we go, this is a threat. We're going to talk about it for 6 days and do nothing.
Well, then the other thing is, like, as China's sitting there, like, oh, they shot out one balloon. Then they watch us freak out as we shoot ghosts in the dark and start adding up a body count of Chinese balloons. And they're over there like, General, was it just one balloon or 4 balloons? And he's like, only one balloon, General. And he's like, and they laugh in Chinese at us because we're
Chinese at us.
We're shooting in the dark at we're painting the sides of F-22s with balloons and UFOs over here. And in reality, what we actually have done is shot down like News Channel 7 with Rick the Weatherman Stevens' balloon, or we shot down 7th grade science project's balloon.
Some poor hobbyist just trying to
They're
learn.
Helium balloons. You can just order them. Like, you can go right now and buy the balloon they shot down.
That's fucking embarrassing.
They said it was the size of a car. Those are $65 balloons. I mean, the helium's expensive, but you get where I'm coming from. Like we could throw together a whole swarm of these.
Well, that's ridiculous. That's
then
fucking
paint
insane.
Advertising on the side of them.
I didn't know we were shooting down random fucking hobbyists' balloons.
That's exactly what we were doing. We were chasing them around across the entire fucking North America, the Arctic. They're up near the North Pole with stealth fighters fighting weather balloons, and then they're like, oh, there's one over the Great Lakes too. All right, well, we're so good at doing this stuff. To be fair, like, it's kind of cool that like a weather balloon flew over, and they send a tanker plane, Taylor, and then they send a radar jamming plane above that one. And then they have a whole swarm of like support planes and stealth fighters that are all there to kill whatever somebody